Hey Ian, how you going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, I think we've got 20 minutes, so let's crack on.
Get,
Okay.
get cracking, yeah.
Yeah. So, I interviewed you about 18 months ago for the
I
EP.
remember.
Yeah, I thank you. And I've rewatched it last night, because obviously Tiana records it, and I rewatched it last night. And I said, probably unpolitically correctly, that your music reminded me of a kid with ADHD. It, it, it probably should be on red cordial. Okay.
Correct.
So, so taking that into account and having heard the new album, do you think do you think you've changed?
I think we've upped our dosage of the red cordial, but we've learned how to tolerate it more.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I think
Yes.
if I'm going off your analogy, I I think we've come into our own a lot on this record. And I mean, being an album, you definitely do need to have this sense of identity sort of down pat, because you need to come out strong and your audience needs to know who you are, especially because you're reaching a new audience. And with I Don't Know What I Am, which I think was the campaign where we spoke,
Yeah.
it was this more of a tasting palette for like what we could be, I guess. And now we've sort of taken the best bits of that identity, and we've still put the pedal to the metal in terms of the experimentation. It is a very diverse album. I hope I'm not out of line in saying that. Like there's heaps of different sounds on there, of course. So we are still going all over the place, but I think it's all with a greater degree of intention than we've had before. Yeah. I like that analogy. We've doubled the dose, but we've learned to tolerate it more, and we sort of make it our own now.
Well, that's good, and you are right, because like going through the album last night, there were songs that were I felt were a continuation of what you did on the
Totally.
EP, and then
Yeah.
there was some stuff that I was like, that's like a left field thing, which bizarrely enough, expecting the unexpected is kind of what I expect.
Yep.
Makes no sense. But
No, I get
as
it. I think that that's so accurate for our music.
yeah, so it was things like what were the notes I made? Soraya is like punching clouds. That's what I made a comment on that one.
I love that.
Um, oh, thank you.
I
So,
really like this. Is great because it's I'm learning things about what people how people perceived our music too. So please continue.
well, yes. I mean, the reason why I had Soraya is like punching clouds is because there was kind of like your vocals on that, and the kind of the atmosphere that came from it was kind of um, a bit like what's what I'm kind of like my visualization is kind of like the lady on the lake sort of thing, like a ghost or a mirage, and
Mm.
then there's the water or the cloud underneath, and then you come in with the heavy, and you're like, I just can't get to it. It was like, so that's how I visualize that. Physical is my notes there is this isn't paint by numbers. That's literally what I wrote. It
Physical is a
isn't.
lot.
Yeah. And but then, like we are saying, but the different styles of music, two steps apart, that I thought of that as like an 80s music video when it had like the piano part and then the guitar solo came in. And
Yeah.
that was a left field thing. I was not expecting that at all. I was like, what the fuck am I listening to?
That song has
So
my favorite solo on the album. Just FYI, when you mention the solo, my favorite. And people won't like really get that because it's quite simple, a solo. And I think that's why I love it so much, because Brandon exercised so much restraint on this album, but like beautiful restraint, like only hitting the right notes at the right time. And I'm just like, so good.
nice.
Just a
I
little bit
mean,
of
when
inside
you
info
were
for you.
no, that's perfect. That's perfect. So creating, like, 'cause when we spoke 18 months ago, you said that the next thing would be doing an album, and there would be, you would take your time to really go into it and do it.
Yeah.
So I suppose the next question I'm putting there is, if there are all these different kind of genres and styles in there, and your vocals have progressed as well since then, do you actually go in with the songs as a plan, or do you just kind of throw it in a mixing pot and see what works?
I think there is a little bit of both. We intentionally experimented with our songwriting on this record. For example, by dismantling which this is a method that I might have spoken with you about 18 months ago. Dismantling this production line style of writing where Brandon drops a demo, Miles picks it up, Ben picks it up, I write vocals, etc. And then we've got a song. Rather than doing that, we worked with Chris on a very intimate level to, for example, like different groupings of us, like Brandon and myself would get into the studio with no preparation and just walk out, and like we would walk out with a song and we don't know where it's going to go. So we would just take it as feel like it was very directed by feel and emotions and chemistry sort of thing, rather than, okay, we need to write a proggy song to fill this gap on the album. But that is to say that like towards the end, once the album started taking shape, we did have ideas of what was missing and what we needed, and like so we would write songs to fill those voids. But towards the beginning, it was so like we had the world at our feet when it came to writing, and we really tried to not have any limitations. Actually, no, we had limitations, but like in a creative way, you know, limitations as in come with nothing prepared. Brandon play a riff until Mon feels something, and then I'll go, oh yeah, I like that, and me have a pen and paper for the first time ever, really, you know, to write on the spot. So yeah, I think there was definitely intention behind some of the directions we went in, and then there was also like but there was like also I don't know how to explain it, like an open-mindedness, I guess, to the direction we were heading in. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Oh, perfect. And keep talking. It's less I have to do. So brilliant.
That's easy for me to do. I just yap.
Well, you are a singer.
That's true. It's typical.
So I mean the last one, the EP, the content was in basically the title, that you know it was about who you didn't know who you were, and you mentioned that was about some of the fear that you go through, anxiety, some of the health stuff.
Yeah.
The notes that we got yesterday suggested that this was soft sci-fi, which is not the same. What's soft sci-fi?
So I say soft sci-fi because I'm like, we didn't, it's not a concept album. We didn't like aim for we're going in this futuristic sci-fi direction. It's going to be like conceptually this, that, and the other. It's more of like the result of what we wrote ended up having this overall like kind of very futuristic, introspective, like innovative sort of air to it all. So that sort of led to this, it was kind of me like finding a through line through all of the songs, and like what do these songs have in common, and like how do they feel as a collective. And yeah, so like the soft in that is more like subtle sci-fi approach sort of thing. Yeah, like as in if we followed the path of a lot of prog bands, if we said, oh, this is a sci-fi record, people would think we're going deep into the whole, you know, like and so we're definitely not. It's more because of this through line of the futuristic element. Like there are some songs that are more conceptual, like Killstar is pretty much a concept song about like a dystopian future and like where we're headed, and like very eat the rich, like classist sort of vibes. That's Killstar. But yeah, like once you apply that to the rest of the songs, you do kind of get this like this kind of pondering about the human experiences, like, and where we're headed into the future. And yeah, like, I mean, there is still that, like I said, that human element of like, of fear for the future, but there's also like reverence for the future and like an eagerness for where we're headed sort of thing. And that's, yeah, I think that's where that came from.
One of your lyrics in The Flower, I wrote down because we didn't get the lyrics, but this one stood out to me.
Oh, we gotta start sending the lyrics. Tiana, if you can hear this, I'll send lyric packages to you. I feel like that could be really interesting.
Oh yeah, psychoanalyzing that.
Hmm.
The villain in my throat had more to say.
Yeah.
Would you care to explain?
That song, The Flower, is kind of about how you try to exercise restraint as a person, but there's always like sometimes you just it was a very personal experience, that one. It's like I was feeling so much anger at myself at the time of writing it for like sometimes I'm like, just shut your mouth. It was just, how you can be quite self-destructive in the words that you say. And it's almost like you've got a passenger, like the real you is in the back of you. And you're just like, stop, for the love of God, just be reasonable, be rational. But when you're overtaken by these emotions, sometimes you can spit the most vile things at yourself. And so it was like that lyric, the villain in my throat had more to say, much more to say, I think it is. Yeah. Oh yeah. What is it? I thought I was on my way. Yeah. It's like you think you're progressing as a person, you think you're growing, you think you're evolving, growing the flower,
Oh,
and but then you lapse into this sort of like evil self sort of thing. Sometimes, and you're just really ashamed at yourself. And so that song, I wish I could get under my skin and plant a flower, let it grow into a garden, sow the beauty that you need. So like, I wish that I could be the identity that people want me to be, sort of thing. But sometimes, the emotions take over and you are just a real person, and that real person isn't always what people want. So yeah. Yeah.
it resonated with me because I was like, oh, okay, because I have a sharp tongue, and
That's
every
what
once
I
in a while,
mean. Yeah.
yeah, pride
Yeah.
and ego
Yeah.
will kick in, and you're like, what?
Temper and things. Yeah. And physical is about that as well. I know you mentioned physical before. Physical has a lot of that anger and explores anger as an emotion too. Yeah, because it says, um, I wish it wasn't so easy to exhale and let it go because I want to feel the hate get physical. Sometimes you like want to kind of push the limits and see how far you can go with it. And um, but as a person, as a functioning member of society, we let these things go. We let them roll off our shoulders and we get along with our day, which is healthy. But sometimes like you're sitting with something and you're letting it fester and you wonder where it could go, just kind of hypothetical sort of thing.
Oh, you're throwing hypothetical, but I am going to ask the question: Is there is there a seed of truth in this?
Of course there is. Yeah, I've definitely tried to find truth in this album through lyrics. And I Don't Know What I Am was my first venture into truthful lyrics and lyrics that meant something to me introspectively. So I've become more evolved since then, and I think that I've gotten a little bit better at expressing myself personally through lyrics now. So absolutely, there is truth to pretty much every song on the album. If not all of them have a level of personal value to me. And this isn't to say that I would ever, like use these words against a person or like actually let them out. But like, sometimes it's just the human spirit. It's just we all feel anger, and all of our anger like manifests in different ways. And like I've been afraid of anger for so long. But so expressing it through music can be a really cool way to, like just explore it and see what's really behind it and things like that, and challenge yourself in a way.
Hmm. We'll stop talking about how angry you may or may not be now. We'll leave that alone.
For sure.
Um,
I'm gonna let my
I,
Hulk self come out on camera right now.
I touched on earlier about how also your vocal style has evolved as well. I mean, the on the first album EP, sorry, there was, you mentioned that you couldn't scream, you weren't going to do screaming.
Mhm.
There's one song it nearly appears. Is it Carve?
I
I
think
think
it's
it
the
might be.
Cave.
Cave, sorry, yeah. I
Cave.
think there's nearly get there.
Yeah, there's a couple of songs where I do kind of give people a little taste, you know. The Flower is one of them, Cave is one of them, and Upside Down, the final track, is one of them. Yeah, I definitely dip my toes into the water of unclean vocals in this record. But it's all with intention, and I think that my something that I've come to like and like appreciate about myself as a vocalist is that something that I once saw as a limitation or as like a downside to my voice, you know, I can't scream. Oh, it's a, you know, people wish I could. Oh, like if only I could just do this, blah blah blah. Something that I once saw as an ailment, I now see as a strength, I think, because it allows me to be a bit more explorative in the techniques that I use, and also everything that I do, it's very intentional and very like to serve the song. So when I do dip my toes into those harsh vocals, it's because like the song really needs it. You know what I mean? Like I do have these like I do have like more skill in harsh vocals than I did during I Don't Know What I Am and time previous any previous records. I have more of that in my arsenal now, but I only use it, you know, very sparingly for when it's really needed, because I think that's when it has the most impact. So I think I'm gonna keep going with that, and I'm not going like, I mean, never say never. I might be there might be songs full of screaming on album 3, you know. We like to keep ourselves open-minded, like I said before, but generally I'm trying to treat this as a strength now more than an ailment.
Thank you. In terms of, so you guys were here in Adelaide for Froth and Fury Fest,
Yes.
and I did bump into you actually that day, but
I
like
think
in the
that,
dark.
that was a long
You
crazy day. We saw so many people that day. It was basically like Mates Fest, like Wind Waker, Caligula's, Red Hook. We were hanging out with everyone. It was so good.
yeah, you were on stage with Red Hook. I remember that as well.
Yeah.
Um, so your two questions then. So, what was your thoughts on because obviously that's at Adelaide Premium Festival. What was your
Of
thoughts on
course.
Froth and Fury Fest? And then obviously you've also got a tour coming up shortly as well, which you will be here with Caligia's horse.
Yes.
Um, so you got the 5 dates in the tour as well. So the second question is, well, what's then after these 5 dates?
Okay, well, to first answer your question about Froth and Fury, I bloody loved it. I thought it was fantastic, especially because Adelaide does often get the short end of the straw when it comes to touring circuits, like bands who come through. Like Adelaide is always sort of like a 50-50 will they, won't they sort of thing. So I do definitely feel for all the Adelaide locals for their access to like live music and large scale events too. So Froth and Fury, I think, is like an amazing event, and like people pulled up. Like there were so many people there. I remember being shocked because I didn't really know the scale of the. Obviously, it had a massive lineup, and so I did assume that there were going to be quite a few people there, but even the scale of the event, you know, 3 stages, like 2 or 3 stages, all these like vendors like all over the place, and it was so well organized. Like the team were stunningly organized. That was amazing. So Adelaide do it right. Yeah, I thought that it was amazing, and a cool lineup too. Like I even got to see a bunch of bands that I haven't seen in a while, so that was really fun. Yeah, so Adelaide, you guys know how to do it. And yes, we are coming back in June with Caligula's horse. Honestly, some of our best friends. Like I think it's gonna be so much fun. Um, and yeah, so that Adelaide is the first date of the little 5 date run that we're doing in June. And after that, it is a little bit of a mystery at the moment. We're definitely there's a lot hanging in the works of like how the tour goes. You know, like there's high stakes to this tour because it's our first headline tour. We did a co-headline like 2 years ago, like 1.5 years ago or something. And that was great. Like that went really well. But so now it's like all eyes are on Reliqa now, and it's up to us to deliver on this tour. So you can trust that we are going to be bringing our A game to this, because there's a lot hanging in the balance. And then, yeah, I mean, we definitely have prospects to go overseas now as well, which is fantastic. But we're going to strike when the iron's hot. You know, now that we have all the setup in place to make that happen, it's a matter of making sure it's the right time, the right moment, the right opportunity. So we're not going to rush it, but everything is sort of like gearing up that direction. I'm hoping we get to do more Australia this year, and I think we will. I think there's a couple of opportunities in the pipeline, but we're sort of, the team right now are taking things very, it's very one step at a time sort of thing, which is it's cool, it's interesting. And yeah, I guess it just keeps our calendar sort of wide open, and when the right thing happens, it'll happen, sort of thing.
So unexpected, a bit like the band.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. It's unexpected to me as well. Look, like we've got an album coming out. We will be touring this album extensively. If I have anything to do with it, we will absolutely be showing it to as many people as we can in a live setting. So trust that something will happen. This isn't me saying, oh, we don't know what we're doing. It's like it's all the groundwork has been laid, and like there's stuff that I can't say as well, you know, like you got to be a bit political with it, but generally all eyes are on this tour right now, and then once that happens, it'll be flexible. Like our future will be flexible from there depending on the outcome.
Cool. Well, I've actually taken up 2 extra minutes, so
oh, I didn't even notice. We were having so much fun.
Yeah, well, I know you've got more to do, so I will let you go, and we'll see you guys. I think it's 14th of June. We'll do an album review as well, because
brilliant. Thank you so much.
Not a problem, and I'll leave you back in the capable hands of Tiana, and I'll see you soon.
It was great to chat with you, Ian. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ian. I'll get this to you later today.
Likewise.